The next set of questions really have some more around the calculations of wealth and kind of declining and increasing enrollment. And so the first question is, I think, just questioning the use of per pupil wealth as the measure of wealth within districts versus something like per capita. And really reflecting on the fact that as districts grow or shrink, their tax base could stay similar, but then clearly their per pupil amount is either going down if they're growing or it's going up if they're shrinking. I would say that in almost all equalized formulas, what you really are attempting to do is understand the wealth per pupil of a community. And that's in part because you could have a community that's very wealthy and has very low number of students, or go the other way, very poor with a low number of students, or very wealthy with a high number of students, or any combination. And it really does change their capacity at the per pupil level to raise dollars. And so we would tend to suggest that we think the per pupil is the right way to go. Per capita isn't reflecting necessarily the student population. It's more the overall population. And you need to know what percent of that population is students, we think, to run an equalized formula. Having something that is taking into account kind of declining enrollment on the expenditure side is very important. And I'm going to skip was also part of the question. I know the declining enrollment has now been put in place, but it really is a double whammy if you have declining enrollment that isn't accounted for, where it's very hard for school districts to shed all of their costs as their enrollments go down year to year. They can do it over time. They don't tend to be able to do it fully in 1 year. And so I believe declining enrollment adjustment has been put in place at least for a couple years in your current funding, and it's a recommendation we made to really go forward with a 3-year declining enrollment adjustment. And then the last question in this area was about this idea of funding schools or districts at a fixed cost plus a variable rate versus creating a fully variable funding system, which is what you have today. So every student, you receive funding on a per pupil basis. So every new student adds funding. Every student that you lose, you lose funding. We definitely see that type of formula in states, but it tends to be when you're getting down to districts who are 100 or 50, or schools that are 40 or 30. You generally, the variable rate, when you have systems as large as Maryland has, is what states lean towards. You can absolutely talk about kind of what is the fixed price of running any school and then run a variable piece above it. There are few systems that run that way, and probably at the scale of the Maryland districts, we wouldn't recommend that.